recording now?
Yes.
All right, well, then everything we say now is officially on the record, so we have to look like that. Okay. Welcome to the first Sanderson Track panel of the day. I'm thrilled that you guys are here at this nice early hangover-free hour. My name is Billy Todd. I'm the track director for Sanderson Track. You are here for orientation to the Cosmere. If you're not here for that panel, you should stay anyway because it's going to be awesome. And, if you already have been oriented to the Cosmere in the past, this may be a good refresher for you. If you don't know what the word Cosmere means, then you're in the right place. Can I get the doors in the back closed, please? Have less noise. Okay, so as I said, I'm Billy Todd. I'm the director of Sanderson Track. This is probably the only panel on which I would consider myself to be actually competent to discuss the panel content. Joining me with a better level of knowledge than myself, Ted and Glenn, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hello, Ted Herman, longtime Wheel of Time and Cosmere fan and recent beta reader, and looking forward to what's pretty fun.
I'm Glenn. This is my first role as a panelist. I don't have any fancy creds.
Yeah.
Just been a long time reader.
Have you ever heard of Brandon Sanderson?
Who?
Yeah, there you go. You'll do well on this track.
Great.
Excellent. Okay, so the way normally, this panel is a little unusual compared to how we normally structure our panels. This one is going to start off with about 15 minutes of me just teaching off of these slides, and then the other panelists will jump in and actually contribute to things. If you have questions about stuff as we go, that's okay. It is fine for you to ask questions, make observations, and it's even better if you catch errors that are on the slides. So if you're the person who would catch errors on the slides, you may not need an orientation to the Cosmere. So we'll see how that goes. All right, so now assuming that I can operate the TV properly, I'm going to pull these up. Yes. Okay. Everybody can see. Everybody see the slides? Good. Okay. I'm a little worried about glare because it's morning time, but we should be okay. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is what we know about the Cosmere as a work. Okay. This is it's a shared universe. Okay. The Cosmere is a shared universe where a bunch of stories all take place in different settings, but those settings are all joined by a similar set of rules, by characters who show up in different places. It's like the Marvel movies, only much more complicated. Okay. Our sources of knowledge about these books, come from two places: the stories themselves, and from words of Brandon. Okay. Words of Brandon is the term of art for whenever you get Brandon to foolishly answer a question, that now goes in as things that we know about the world. And those are usually stick, but sometimes he changes his mind.
I just want to add something to that may be recent.
Yeah.
He now has an FAQ on his website, and his FAQ actually addresses some Cosmere information. And it's official. And he also does a weekly FAQ, which he'll answer a random category of things about the Cosmere or writing or non-Cosmere. And there's also his annotations where he actually wrote about the writing process, but it also has Cosmere knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. His annotations for all three Mistborn books, Elantris, Warbreaker,
Part of Alloy of Wolf.
Great. Okay. All right, so now we're going to talk about what doesn't count. What is not in the Cosmere? Here's what's not in the Cosmere. The Wheel of Time. That doesn't belong to him. That belongs to Harry. So it's not part of Cosmere at all. Alcatraz versus against the evil librarians. That is not part of it. Infinity Blade, Legion, Rhythmatist. Reckoners has an asterisk. And Apocalypse Guard, which is a series coming out soon, also has an asterisk. And the reason why these have an asterisk is because I'm very technical on this, and we have words of Brandon. Has everybody here read Reckoners? Is there anybody here who has not read Reckoners? Okay, I'm just going to tell you one thing about that series, which is there's a character in that series who is able to reach into alternate dimensions. And we have words of Brandon that if that character was good enough, that character could reach into the Cosmere. And now Ted just died a little. So 3 years ago.
I'm not going to theorize, no.
Yeah.
No, it must not theorize.
So for all practical purposes, we're going to assume that Brandon hasn't been hitting the sauce, and that Reckoners is not part of the Cosmere. Okay? Apocalypse Guard is included in that because Apocalypse Guard is part of that shared universe that the Reckoners have. If you want to know more about that, please come to the panel tomorrow called the Cosmere, which is at this time on sale.
Maybe I'll add something to that.
Yes.
Snapshot being technically part of Reckoners is not on that list until you add in that.
Yeah, until you do natural. Okay, so what does count? Okay, so here we have an oddly formatted slide that suggests that I have no idea how to make PowerPoint. We have Elantris, of course. The book Elantris has a companion short story, or novella, I guess is the way to put it, Emperor's Soul. We have the Mistborn universe, which is Era 1 is the one we know with Ben and the Lord Ruler and all this stuff. Era 2, Weiss and White, all that, and in between them, the Secret History. This is Mistborn. Next up, we have the short story Shadows from Silence and the Forest of Hell, Six of the Dusk. I encourage you, if you've not read those, to read those in the recently published Arcanum Unbounded Compilate Collection is the proper word. The Stormlight Archive, if you don't know what the Stormlight Archive is, some of you will be dressed highly coincidentally in this room. Warbreaker and White Sand. Now, White Sand also has a little asterisk here, I guess is the way to put it. I should have updated this from before. It says fall 2016. That's a third true. Okay. White Sand exists as a draft novel. It exists as a novel that has not been published. And derived from that work is a graphic novel, which is one-third complete and published. There's
Can we get a show of hands, anybody that's actually read the unpublished White Sands?
It's in Arcanum, right?
No.
Well,
No.
there's actually a
So
chapter.
there's a chapter of White Sand in Arcanum Unbounded. Yeah, I thought that too when I read it. I thought, this is much shorter than I thought it was. And then I realized, no. All they did in that was they took the chapter, the excerpt that's in Arcanum Unbounded, the excerpt of the graphic novel is derived from that excerpt that they published alongside.
Okay.
So the White Sand graphic novel is substantially longer as it exists, and then the unpublished piece is way longer than what they put in Arcanum.
Oh, okay. I guess I should read the graphic novel.
Yeah, it's an actual book.
We have it, but we just haven't read it.
Yeah, Karen, you were about to make a comment.
In this newsletter yesterday, I posted a link to the whole
So he's now just throwing it up there.
Yeah.
Before it was available on request. Now it's available
Apparently
on
he was
browser
getting so many
request.
requests that
Yeah.
he just put it in the newsletter yesterday.
Okay. So as you can see, these are the existing Cosmere books and stories. Now we have all the ones that we know about, past, present, and future. Okay. So up here we have one called Dark One, which is forthcoming after Visitist is finished. There's no specific ETA for that. Dark One is a book about a kid who realizes he's the prophesied evil one. Instead of the one who will save us from the Dark One, he is the Dark One. We have no idea anything more than that. That's just Brandon's one sentence pitch. Dragonsteel, which is the book about Hoyd and the shattering of Adomanis and all that, that's forthcoming after Stormlight is over, so our grandkids will read it. It'll be great.
So theoretically, it's a prequel.
Yeah, theoretically, it's a prequel to everything. It is chronologically first, we're told. If you don't know what I mean by the shattering of Adomanis, hang on, we'll get there. Okay, Elantris. Elantris will have actual sequels. Elantris 2 will come after Mistborn Era 2 finishes. Elantris 3 will come after Stormlight 4. The reason why we know the timing on these is because Brandon is convinced that certain things won't make sense unless other things have been published first. So I have no idea what sort of world-hopping nonsense we're going to run into that requires Elantris 3 to come after Stormlight 4 before Stormlight 5.
And that's confusing since Elantris was way in the past.
Right, Elantris is way in the past. So, Mistborn, Era 1 and Era 2. Era 2 was never really supposed to happen, but he just sort of got happy one day on the plane coming back and gave birth to 2 gunslingers. So, Era 3 was supposed to be the second trilogy of the Mistborn trilogies, and it's a 1980s set series, which will be very Mistborn doing Fortran, computer hacking, CIA, that sort of thing. Which will be after the first block of Stormlight is finished. And then Mistborn Era 4. We already have a minor hint of this because of what we've seen in Six of the Dusk.
We think.
We are pretty sure. Yeah, we think. We'll asterisk that to say Billy's convinced, but we are pretty confident that we've seen interstellar scatterings already in that book. So next up is a book called Silence Divine. I don't think that we know anything about that book except how its magic system is.
Isn't that the one set on Ashen?
Oh yeah, it's on Ashen. We'll get to that here. And then a book that everyone is waiting for here, Warbreaker 2, Nightblood. Will come after Elantris 3, which means it will be after Stormlight 4. Yes, let's go with the guy with the spear in the back.
Oh yeah. Like, how is this all related at all to the Way of Kings, or is he just doing this on the side too?
Well, we'll get to that here in a second.
Okay.
Basically, yes.
Damn. The guy's the next
What you just asked
king.
me, what you just asked is the same thing as saying, is Captain America 3 related at all to the Avengers?
Yeah.
The answer there is yes.
Oh, so they're related though?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Way of Kings and this?
Stormlight
You are in the right place.
Alright, I'm learning.
You, my friend, are about to get oriented.
And we didn't set him up to ask that question.
How many kids do we have here? No, we're about to orient the shit out of you. Yes.
When it says after Wax and Wayne finish, how much more of that is
There is a volume of Wax and Wayne yet to be released. Okay. Wax and he wrote a little short thing and said, "Of course, this little thing that I wrote should then spawn a trilogy because I'm Brandon Tudor."
And of course, he wrote 2 books at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, this is right.
It's like he keeps losing bets. Yes.
Is there any indication whether Nightblood is chronologically after or before Warbreaker?
I don't know that the chronology in universe for these matches the chronology in Earth as to when they're being published.
Yeah, that's a good question because Warbreaker also takes place a long time before Stormlight.
Right.
But not as far back as Elantris.
Not as far back as Elantris. Elantris is the earliest one in the timeline that we know of. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to the next slide, which
Wait.
is
5 or 6
It's
hours.
not even a question, but I saw people taking pictures. If you don't mind, I think this is great. If you don't mind sending me the slides, I can print them and bring them for people to pick up later.
Yeah, sure. We can remind me of that after this panel because I will forget.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you have a slide of the skip the timeline of
When these books occur? No, because I don't have that because it's not entirely known how we do basically know the timeline of the existing books. Where the future books are going to fall, we don't quite know. We know when he's going to write them, but I don't know if Elantris 3, which is going to be written after or published after Stormlight 4, will occur after Stormlight 4. We don't know.
We do know that there's going to be about a 15-year gap between the 5 book arcs of Stormlight.
Right. Stormlight, and my expectation is, Brandon has made it sound as though books in the Cosmere will occur between Stormlight 5 and Stormlight 6.
Well, Era 2 occurs between Stormlight 5 and 6.
Okay, so Wax and Wayne are already there. Okay. All right. So now we're gonna move to the next slide. So let's go. The Cosmere is not merely a place to live. Okay, it's not a place to be. If you have read Words of Radiance, you're familiar with this concept already. If you've read Secret Histories, you're familiar with this concept already. If you've read Emperor's Soul, you should be familiar with this. The world, the Cosmere exists on 3 different levels called realms, and they are the physical realm, which is, as Shah tells us, what we feel and what is before us. That's this, okay? I can hit this table, okay? There's the cognitive realm. I am a table, okay? I am a stick, shaped mark, all this. The cognitive is how an object is viewed and how it views itself, okay? It's very platonic in this way.
Their ideas, their concepts,
Their ideas,
that
yes.
have taken on a life.
Right, people, when they die, are the idea of who they used to be. They're the cognitive shadow of what they were, okay? And then there's the spiritual realm, which is very mysterious to us. The spiritual realm contains an object's soul, its essence, as well as the ways it is connected to the things and people around it. For more about this, there's a word in here that has been read, connected. Connected, this notion of connection across the spiritual realm is relevant to the magic system that Brandon used. For more on that, come to your introduction to the Cosmere Magic, which is the next panel after this.
And also, I believe spiritual realm is where all the investiture, right, spiritual energy comes from.
And there's also like when Vin and when people don't hang around anymore after they're in the cognitive realm, they go off to the spiritual realm. We have no idea what happens after that.
The beyond.
Be beyond.
Beyond. But my understanding was that the beyond is not really the spiritual realm. It's something different.
And maybe
That's
beyond
from
the spiritual realm.
Beyond, and that was from Secret Histories.
Yeah. We know that there is at least a belief in an entity called the God beyond. And whether the God beyond is outside the spiritual realm or sort of is the spiritual realm or what, we don't know. So. All right, so next up we're going to talk about Cosmere stories. And here I had yet another poorly formatted PowerPoint slide that lists a bunch of books that we know of. We have 2 Elantris stories, 2 existing Mistborn stories, Warbreaker, 3 Stormlight, Things Going On, White Sand, Dark One, which is out, Dragonsteel, Silence Divine, Shadows of Silence. Each of these has a story. Okay, or each of these shows up on a world. Elantris is on the world of Cell. This is laid out very well in Arcanum Unbounded. They did a great job of saying, you know what, we're even going to give you planetary maps in this business. Elantris is set on a world called Cell. Mistborn is on Scadrial. Warbreaker is on Malthus. You can see here Stormlight's on Roshar, and Braze. Okay, there's another planet in the Roshar system called Braze. It's referenced in the Arcanum, and it's also referenced in one of the letters. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like somebody's on Braze, right? Taldane is the world of White Sand. Matt Coffin's getting mind blown by
I'm
there.
confused again. So they're all in the same solar system?
No.
No.
Oh, okay. It's the
Each
same
of
galaxy.
these, so the
Mini
cell,
galaxies.
so here we go.
Can you stick to the star?
I'll get there in a second. So the cell is its own system. Scadrial is in its own system. Malthus is in its own system. Roshar and Braze are in the same system.
So
Okay.
multiple planets around a single or
Those are
multiple
all
suns.
things you
Yeah.
know that there's like Ashen is Ashen in that system too? Okay, so Ashen is in the Roshar system as well.
Okay.
Taldane's in its own system. Dark One, we don't know where Dark One's going to occur. And then Shadows of Silence occurs on Threnody, which is in its own system as well. Right. Okay. Now, each world has its own magic. Okay. Elantris has 2 different forms of magic. There's the door, 2 different variations of the door, basically.
Well,
Yeah,
more than
more than 2, but there's 2 that we've seen, right? The AR door and the duck door. And there's also
well, there's blood sealing,
So-
there's forgery,
right.
and there's chasing.
What is Chashin?
Chasing is, I can't remember the noble. He, during the final avalanche fight scene, he started beating up the Dakor monks with his
Awesomeness.
martial art. It's martial arts basically.
Mistborn,
But I don't remember. His name was Luke.
Skywalker?
Right.
But we'll get to why I left him off and why we left that off in a second. Mistborn, we have Allomancy and Hemalurgy. Okay, you notice I have left out Faruqami.
Which one?
Faruqami. I left out Faruqami because I just don't care. Okay.
Whoa.
Why would it be that I've left Farukami off this list? Warbreaker has Awakening, Stormlight has Surge Binding and question marks, okay? White Sand has Sand Mastery, and then we have a bunch of question marks down here, okay? So I'm going to leave this chart halfway incomplete for a second while we take a sidebar to talk about Adomalsium. This is a word that we first see in a reference, I think in one of the letters in, no. The first time we see it is an epigraph by Sazed in the third book.
Yes.
In Hero of Ages. But we don't have any idea what it means or something like that. A long time ago, there was an entity or a thing called Adomalsium that got shattered. Okay? I use the passive voice there because it was shattered on purpose by certain people. People broke it, or him, or her, or whatever. Okay. Hoyd, the person that we know as Hoyd/Wit, was alive during this event. I originally, when I wrote this slide, I said he was there when it happened, and Ted corrected me on this and said, "We're not. Do we know that
Yes.
Hoyd was there?" He was there.
I don't remember where that was confirmed, but it is confirmed.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Or
was
is
it
it
literally
one
saw it?
other, which we're thinking was the
Well, yeah.
dragon or
Frost.
frost, yeah.
Okay, and Adomalsium was shattered into 16 shards. Okay, 16 different pieces of Adomalsium were created in this event.
And that may have been with the 10.
Yes. And these shards have names, and these names should immediately jump out at you as things that you have heard before. Devotion and Dominion are shards that ended up on Cell, and they form the basis of the magic there on Elantris. Preservation and Ruin each have their own magic systems on Mistborn. Preservation gives us Allomancy, Ruin gives us Hemalurgy, Farukami is sort of, I think our understanding is Farukami is the magic that was on Scadrial before they were impacted by Ruin and
The neighbors.
Not sure.
So there's not a before, because they created
They treated it all live.
they created the planet, but my understanding of what Brandon said is that while they created the planet, they didn't they sort of when it was created, Farukami just sort of was what it was, and then they started doing their thing with Alliance and Hemalurgy. And if that turns out not to be correct, this is orientation, not deep stuff. So. We also know on Roshar that there is or was honor and cultivation. If you've read Edge Dancer, it's made clear that cultivation remains a thing, right? Because I'm mistyped, it should say OU. That's not, it's an error. It should say OU. Honor we know is no longer there, right? Honor has gone away.
He's dead and shattered.
He's dead and shattered.
You skipped endowment.
And so, I skipped endowment. Endowment's one that gives colors. It gives the breaths on Alphys for Warbreaker. Autonomy is one who's new to the scene since last year. Autonomy is associated with Taldane. Autonomy also there are indications that autonomy is up to things in other worlds. I won't spoil if you haven't read. Oh, we have questions. Yes.
Sorry, man. So honor's dead, but people can still use his magic.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, sorry, man. I'm trying to keep doing this.
So you definitely should come to the next panel because when you say that, here's the trick. It's not honor's magic.
Oh.
Okay, it's not honor's magic, but how you access that magic is associated with honor. And so, that's probably an easy one-sentence way to distinguish. The magic doesn't come from honor. The magic is of honor, which is a different thing. Okay.
He grabbed the magic, basically.
And brought it there.
It still exists after something happens, and it still exists.
I got you.
So now, if you are caught up on the events of Mistborn Era 1, you know that preservation and ruin are no more. They don't exist anymore, and they've been united into a shard called Harmony. This is a name that is referenced many times in Mistborn Era 2, and that entity of Harmony has replaced preservation and ruin in this list of 16. So now there are now 17 shards that have existed, not including the on themselves a 17th shard. But Harmony, we have words of branding that Harmony does now count as one of the shards.
In fact, two of them, because they merged.
Yeah, right.
Or one shard with twice the power.
With twice the power.
Which is a key to keep in mind.
Right.
In the future.
Autonomy, we just mentioned that. Autonomy may have its fingers in things going on in some of the books. I'm not trying to spoil that. And then there's one out there that we have not even seen, which is ambition. Ambition exists. Ambition we know was destroyed. Ambition. So let me do a correction here. I wrote here ruin because I'm a bad person and not good at checking my work.
I made notes, so we can correct it.
Good. So ruin is I wrote ruin. This should say odium. Okay, odium is the villain, the antagonistic force that exists in this Stormlight archive right now, as we understand it. And ruin or odium has been confined, or odium is confined, or at least exists.
Confined, I think, is fair, but to what extent we don't.
Right. We don't know what the rules are. We don't know what the
Yeah.
rules are. But odium is on Brains, which is another planet inside the Roshar system.
And we know that from the letter.
Yes.
That's the source of.
And odium is super upset about this.
It's in Arcanum Mountain as well.
Does everybody know what the letter is?
The epigraphs on the top of the last half-ish of the second Stormlight book.
It's in
It's in Way of Kings.
There's only two letters.
Oh,
One's
so-
in the Way of Kings and the follow-up is in Words of Radiance.
Now, yes.
Are some of these entities that are like communicating with people for these things like actually like ruin or honor or whatever, or are they just like representatives? Because I know like the little
I'm so glad you
fairy
asked.
flying around.
These shards have holders. There are people who have been, I don't want to use the word endowed because endowment has its own meaning here, but there are people who have taken on the power of these shards, okay? When Adomanis was shattered, these shards, these shardic intents were sort of imbued upon the people who were there when it happened. That's how we understand it. And then they went off and they did their own thing. And devotion was held by a person named Deana. Okay, that person was later killed, and their shard was splintered. And because it was splintered, now no person holds it. No person holds the power of devotion, and this is one of the reasons why magic on Elantris is all sort of goofy. Okay?
But the magic is still there. It
The
hasn't
magic
gone
of the
away.
planet is still there, but
Just to give more background on that, it's actually kind of infused in the cognitive realm area of cell, and that caused a lot of interesting side effects.
right.
Like, and another thing that was said was that the actual land of cell is infested. That was something that Brandon made mysterious comments about whether the deep shard thinkers had ever picked up on it. Like we know the city of Elantris was an aeon in itself, and it was affected by the Riyadh, but there's other areas that we may not have seen yet, but maybe be in Elantris too, that give more clues, I think, about how the land itself is invested.
So we'll talk more about this particular issue in the magic panel, because how investiture works and what that word even means, we'll talk about that in that panel, which will be, if you don't, if you have any confusion at all in this panel, the magic panel will probably help resolve much of that.
But basically, investiture equal magic.
Yes,
That's the equation.
that's right. So preservation, if we go to, spoilers are off the table now, you're in orientation, you're screwed. Preservation on Mistborn was held by a person named Laris. Okay, when Adomanis was shattered, the shardic intent of preservation was given to Laris through whatever means. And Laris and his companion Ati ran off to Scadrial and made a planet. Okay, one of them was preservation, the other one had ruin, and eventually they came to oppose each other, and things happened. Right? Laris eventually became a little fuzzy, to choose a word, and he died. And when he died, his power was temporarily held by another person, and that person held it very briefly, gave it to yet another person who held it very briefly, and now it's in the hands of Sazed. Okay. Ati died, gave up his power very briefly to Sazed also, and Sazed kept it. Like in one big flash, Sazed took them both. And he got both of them, and now he has combined them and has become Harmony. Okay?
Not intentionally, though.
Not intentionally.
It was a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, I just kind of fell and became a god.
Yeah.
That was how it works.
Unfortunately, as he says.
Unfortunately, yeah. He now is aware of other burdens that exist that he would not have had as a normal. Endowment is held by an entity named Edgley, and Edgley is still alive, I believe.
We have no indication
We don't
that
have
anything
anything.
happened.
know that she is not.
Right. Cultivation is held by an unknown female. If you have thoughts about who this person is, come to our speculation panel, which is this afternoon at 10:30, where many theories abound as to who is the holder of cultivation. Honor was held by a person named Tanavast, and Tanavast died. Okay, and he was splintered, and we know that the storm. I'm going to say this, and you hush because you don't even react to what I'm about to say.
I'm not reacting to anything.
Either.
You notice I didn't say anything on the previous slide either.
Right. We have the Stormfather is the cognitive shadow of Tanavast Powell. So when Tanavast died, he sort of left a ghost behind. And
This power is so huge that it
Right.
just doesn't disappear.
so whether the Stormfather is specifically the cognitive shadow of Tanavast specifically, or some other holder of honor, right now the indication is that's what he is, which makes him similar to other cognitive shadows that we've seen elsewhere, only just way more powerful.
Yeah, I mean when we see Laris in the cognitive realm in
As
secret history,
as
he
Fuzz
was
is
a cognitive
a
shadow.
cognitive shadow. When we see
But we have a
Fuzz,
slide on that anyway.
When did he actually die? It took him a long time. It started when he imprisoned Ruin,
right?
but it took a long time for him to actually.
Yeah, we see the event is referenced
Falls out of the sky.
in Hero V.
Yeah, right. He falls out. Boom.
And I think
But he's-
Ellen was there, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
he still had a physical body.
Right. So
And Tanavast possibly doesn't, and so is slightly different, right?
right. We don't know.
Yeah, that's.
But that was something in the past anyway.
Ruin or Odium, he says Ruin again. Odium was held by a guy named Race. Race is right now for all indications, Race's physical body is imprisoned on Race, where that's at least what we're led to believe. Autonomy is held by a woman named Babadon, who exists on Taldane. I think Babadon is not directly depicted in the graphic novel, but apparently, like if you read that book, you can see like faces in the toast, the face of, it's like the face of Jesus or the face of Mary is on my toast. I'm gonna put it on eBay. There's also faces in the sky and faces in the cliffs and all these other things that people think it's Babadon, right? And we have no idea what's up with Ambition, except that Ambition was destroyed. Correct? Ambition was shattered.
That was a word of Brandon.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Odium came to the system, and they fought. There was not a conclusion. They went somewhere else, and wherever else is, that's where Ambition was destroyed, killed, and shattered, and the shard was shattered.
And we do know that Ambition at least impacted the magic system on Threnody. We don't know how exactly that worked. Yes.
Two questions. Are shattered and splintered the same thing?
They are not. I keep using them interchangeably because I have bad word hygiene. So shattered means there's only one shattering that's ever happened. That is the shattering. That's Adomanis being split in 16. When a person has a shard and they are killed, they are splintered. And so those splinters turn into things. For example, splinters turn into, I think the little ghost flames on Scions. Yeah, the Scions are splinters of devotion.
Let me just throw a caveat out there. Preservation and ruin are not splintered. They are held.
Joined. That's right. They are held. Their power was not splintered when their two brothers died. Let's go here.
In splintering, you can also have involuntarily, for example, the divine breaths are splinters.
Yes. But I think that our understanding is that the divine breaths are not the divine breaths are not unintentional. They are intentional.
Right.
Yes. Oh, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
The shard can,
Which is perfectly in keeping with the shard named endowment, right? That shard, each shard has their own mentality, how they think about the world.
So for example, another example would be Spren. Spren are also splinters, and that goes for both honor and cultivation. Since cultivation is still alive.
So Spren are not definitionally splinters.
Yeah, some of them were there before.
Right. Some of them were there.
Some of the shards are
splinters of that analysis.
We know that the Spren, and this will get the Stormlight panel. We'll talk more about this because people always want to talk about Spren. We always get off on it, but the Spren we know are cognitive manifestations. They are like the idea of being tired, the idea of being ashamed, the idea of all these things, right? And they sort of manifest into the Spren, right? They don't necessarily have to be splinters for that to happen. But we do also know that some of them that are of cultivation, others that are of honor, have been affected in some way by this. And so that's that intersection, I think, remains vague in the canon. Yes.
I just want to make sure we also define sliver, just to make sure it's a third thing that sounds similar.
So that is true too. So a sliver is a person who used to hold the power of a shard of Adomanis and doesn't anymore. A classic example of this is Kelsier. Kelsier used to, very briefly, he's the ... up here. Okay, Kelsier ... held the power of preservation very briefly and does not anymore, and he is now a sliver of that. Also, the Lord Ruler had was a sliver of preservation because he held power.
That's how we know that worked.
Right. That comes through him.
Slivers have to be human.
No.
Have to have been human.
Have been.
Well, I believe there's word of Brandon saying there was at least one non-human shard holder.
It's a dragon.
It has to be sentient.
Well, we don't know if it's a dragon. We're just guessing.
We want it to be a dragon.
I mean,
It's totally a dragon.
if you were gonna have a non-human shard, why wouldn't you be a dragon?
Because it was a stick.
No, he just says I'm a stick, not a shard, right?
It could be a colossus. It could be a
colossus.
Those are humans.
Yeah, one of them
Are those the big crab things?
All right, so now we're going into speculation land. We'll save for the 2:30 panel. So, what is it? So I heard the phrase "clear as mud." That means I'm doing almost my entire job.
I've read about the Cosmere. I've done a lot of this on my own, trying to figure it out, and it's still kind of vague. And I think that's.
There's a lot. The intent of this panel is to sort of give you a little orientation, not exhaustive. The idea here is to give you sort of a vocabulary. If you want good more detail on this stuff, Coppermind is great for this. It's the wiki for Sanderson stuff. And if you really want to just get into enlightening discussion with people, 17th Shard website has a lot of just leave me off in the world, and also deeply insightful, highly predictive, and yes, I told you so threads.
But don't go there unless you've got a couple hours to get lost in a black hole.
Yeah, don't do it during work hours.
If you want to research words of Brandon, you can go to theoryland.com and click on the oddly named search link. But that'll bring you to That'll bring you to interviews of Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson.
Good.
Let's take this one here.
As a quick aside, in the Stormlight books, is every magic that we've seen, like all the different radiant types, what Shalon's doing, is all of that search binding, or is there something else that isn't search binding?
So I think the words search binding.
Is all the magic we've seen search binding?
Maybe you've seen search specifically with Shalon. Is Shalon search binding?
Yeah, all of the channeling that we've seen of Stormlight, I think falls under this now and falls through. I think that's
Wow. There's the old magic.
Yeah, that's true.
Ignore that. I've heard about it.
The
We
all
don't
the
know
Knight's
enough about
Radiance
that. All the
powers.
stuff.
Yeah.
Say that
The Knight's
again.
Radiance, yes, the Knight's Radiance powers are certified.
Okay, cool.
Whitney Flasher.
Yeah, saying Stormlight is not correct. Saying the Knight's Radiance, yes.
Okay.
These people who had their balance brand and all this other stuff certified, yes. There's a reason why I have ruins as a question, or Odium. I should say Odium. You guys know. Odium's magic is a question mark. Okay. Cultivation magic is a question mark. We don't know. But we do. It may also be certified, but certainly the Knight's Radiance magic is certified. Yes.
Do you have world hopping?
No. So world hopping. This is something that I should have made a slide for. Did you make a slide?
Oh wait, you know what? If we're gonna talk about magic, may as well. We never see it on screen, but we do know that Boyd has a separate version of something called lightning, and that was from his lifetime.
From Yolan, yeah. So, but we don't know anything about it.
Technically, do we even know he's from Yolan? I don't know if we
know he's been there.
I think we know he's from Yolan by words of Brandon.
Okay.
We have to be so specific in our wording. He has been there at least.
Yeah, no, I think I believe that Boyd is from Yolan.
Yeah.
Like that is, or a better way to put it is, humans are derived. Humans on all these different worlds are derived from the Yolish model.
Yeah.
Yolan is planet zero for humans in the Cosmere, and Boyd is from that planet as well. So, yes.
The Liar of Parts now, that's on Goetz. Yeah?
Yes.
I don't remember if it actually says Yolan in the story.
It's implied.
I think, because I think it was like, Liar of Parts was like, equal to Dragonsteel.
Yeah, Liar Partnell is Liar Partnell is Boyd's story.
Yes.
And that story is not canon yet.
Hideous.
And therefore I ignore it for the purposes of this discussion. Yes.
So like basically the ancient humans used like really strong magic to travel all over the place?
So how do they get there?
Okay.
Well,
Fair.
Ted or Glenn, do you want to? I've been talking so much. One of you guys want to explain how swimming works?
Well, I mean, I think when they stole Adonalcium's power, that's possibly when everything in the Cosmere began. We don't know that they were star traveling before that.
We don't know. But what we do know is that in order for there is a mechanism to go from some planets to other planets through what are called perpendicularities, and this is a scholarly sounding word for wormhole.
Is that what they use in the Stormlight, basically?
Yeah.
Where they're teleporting all over the place, the one chick?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of. That's probably not what you're thinking.
Kind of the same thing.
Did you read Secret History?
No.
Yeah, slides and charts.
But they were able to hop the
Well,
worlds
it's
and
one
travel.
type of perpendicularity.
Did you read Atlantis?
Yeah.
The pool that the people go to die.
Okay.
That's a perpendicular. They use it to die, but it can be used with intent to do other things.
I got you. Okay, cool.
I have a question.
Okay.
I want to know where the shards exist. They exist in the cognitive realm, the physical realm, the spiritual realm.
Sure.
Yes.
All exist in
Yeah,
all
all
three
three.
realms.
All three.
I guess what I'm wondering is, can they be grabbed or stolen by other people from within these different realms?
They can't be shoplifted if that's what you're asking.
It's not something you carry in your pocket.
Well, somebody shed it at an Elsie without holding a shard.
So Right, so let's pause for a second. I want to answer the question that was asked, which is about shard pools. So here we go, shard pools. As Ted has written here, shard pools are points of friction that exist between realms, okay, and can be used as portals. These are also referred to as a kind of perpendicularity between planes.
Tunneling, some kind of tunneling.
Some form of tunneling is allowed. That's right. And so they are, as Ted says here, they're usually on planets that have shards.
But not always.
But not always. Because there's an example of one. Glenn, you mentioned this. In 60
I Apache's Eye, which is not a shard pool, but it's presumed to be a perpendicularity.
Are shard pools created, or are they considered like just natural things?
It's a result of the investiture, the magic.
Okay.
It's because this thing is so powerful.
That
You
that
can
just
imagine
happens.
God, whatever God you believe in, being shattered and in a
It's a pooling of power into a specific physical location.
So an example of this is the highly suspicious pool that Rowden is drawn into is fights the urge to go walk into in Elantris. It is a shard pool, and it is a way to get into the cognitive realm.
Let me just interject something there.
Yeah.
If anyone read Elantris but didn't read the 10th anniversary edition, there is an actual chapter at the end that sheds more light on that, and I won't spoil it, but go get the 10th anniversary edition and read that extra chapter.
Yeah, that's a nice little effort.
Yeah, I need to read that.
That's awesome.
So these we've got 10 minutes left. Yeah. Wow. So, to further answer your question, the shard pools are always very clear and pure. And I hesitate to say that you might even call one a pure lake, but they can be weird like that. And is it confirmed? Yes or no? That it really?
I think we don't know, Karen.
At least we don't know. We don't know.
I
As
don't think we
so.
know, but we do know that that's where the three appear.
Right.
Yeah.
They know that's what it will look.
Well, that's not where Hoyt appeared when Rock saw
Right,
him.
you beat up in the mountain.
Yeah. So there's also one. The Horn Eaters have a sacred lake up on the mountain, right?
It's pretty definitely a shard pool.
Yeah. It's like if Brandon were to write a neon sign that said, "Hey, by the way, this is a shark pool. It's totally is a portal to another to build worlds." That would be it, right? Yes.
This is a wormhole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a way.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't like looking at it that way because we know that like Kelsey are traveled around.
So there are different ways
in
to
the
do
cognitive
this,
realm
right?
and walk around and.
But what he didn't do in the cognitive realm was travel to another world, right? He
did not.
He traveled space, but the implication is that if you're a person who can travel in the cognitive realm, you can go from one world to the other, right? Assumedly, if Yasna's good enough, she can make it, right? Because this is how Chris gets around from world to world, right? Isn't that correct? Chris gets around from world to world.
Must be.
Well, we never see her use.
Right.
But she's certainly knowledgeable about this.
Right. If anybody would be doing it, it would be her and probably.
But that brings up an interesting question because, for Scadrial, I have the Well of Ascension and Pits of Hansen, which no longer exist in Era 2, and yet we know Chris can still get there. And I don't know if it's confirmed, but those two were replaced by Harmony. But we don't know anything about whatever shard pool Harmony
So my understanding is the shard pools were working not between planets, but just between realms.
Between realms, yes.
Yeah, so the better way to put it may be that they're more like the subway entry tunnels, in that you go through the shard pool, and this is part of the reason why these people are on Elantris. These people are just like eager to die into the pools because it's their mechanism for passing into death, right? They get rid of these awful bodies that are holding them back, these zombie bodies, and their minds can be free of all this pain and go into the cognitive realm, not have to worry about their body anymore, right? And once they're in the cognitive realm, they can go around. So And of course, space has a very odd meaning in the cognitive realm. The distance between two physical points is only what you think of it. So how that works between planets, we don't fully know, but that's a thing. And in spiritual realms, it knows. Let's take it back.
Are shard plates and shard blades related to housing?
I am mad at Brandon for using the word shard plate. And
Yeah.
shard blade. I've put my finger on Brandon's chest and said, why did you do this to us? Because I think that they're not related in the sense of this is a shard of Adomanis. And whether they are derived from the power of one of the shards, meaning it's of a shard, that term usually is referred for splinters and things like that. And so, are they derived from a shard? Ted is pointedly not speaking because he's forbidden from speaking of anything that could be revealed. But
Did you just say oath breaker?
I'm sorry.
There's no oath breakers.
Oathbringer. Sorry, too much wheel time.
Yeah, the oath breakers.
Yeah, the spirit moving off to my old life. But we don't have any. There's nothing that says that shard blades are like at the level of a shard of Adomanis, but they may be derived from a shard.
Right, but like the people that would have named them shard blades and shard plates wouldn't have had any knowledge about them.
We don't know.
Later.
We don't know what the old Knight's Radiance knew.
So the old Knight Radiance, they're just using honor, just one shard, all of them.
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
In theory.
In theory.
And but also possibly cultivation.
I think so.
Yeah.
So they got access to a couple of shards.
We don't know, right?
Yeah,
we don't
okay.
know because it's like lift, right? We know the lift has some connection to cultivation because cultivation sent Wendell to Wendell sign up or was Wendell a sign?
Wendell was a sign.
A sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just very protocol.
Yeah.
So we know that cultivation at least has a finger in this, but whether cultivation is like using an honor system or not, it remains off camera.
Okay.
And it's very possible that I've got a very antsy beta reader to my right, which is just really stop saying this horribly incorrect thing.
Well, I have another slide for you to get to.
Which
And I
This one. All right, go ahead. Take it.
All right. So I was talking about preservation having been a cognitive shadow, but we have other examples. We have Cosmere, who refused to die, that pesky survivor. Laris learned to his dismay, and as Hoyd learned to his entertainment. And then Malthus, the returned, because those are the ones that are not dying. And then Roshar, it's not in the books, but it's word of Brandon that heralds. And then the Stormfather referred to himself as the cognitive shadow of Honor, right? Honor or Tanmas. And then the shades of Trinity are cognitive shadows. Those are souls infused with investiture. We don't really learn anything, I don't think, about the mechanic of that, but we do know that they're related to living people, as evidenced by Grandma, sticking around in whatever quasi-human form, and somehow she's still haunting her old residence.
What to think of as semi-conscious ghosts?
Except, we have no indication really that Grandma had the intelligence. She just seemed like instinctually tied. Like, I would think more of Grandma as like flame spring. They don't have any intelligence, but they still do something weird.
I think
that gets into a big discussion about what is a sapience and intelligence.
But I think we also have this issue of the law. I think the older a shade is, the less of its old personality keeps, right?
It's losing as it grows older.
It becomes more instinctive.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that may actually be how.
It's
Matt Cawthon is just like totally on this.
the Stormfather definitely has goals, man. I mean, it's trying to do something.
Right,
Yeah.
but we do know. But one of the issues is the Stormfather is incredibly powerful.
Okay.
Right? The Storm Power is the cognitive shadow of a shard holder, whereas Grandma's ghost is the cognitive shadow of old lady in the closet. Right? She's. Which we all love our grandmothers, right? But she's not 1/16 of God. Right. So, yes.
When the heralds were in the cycle, they like come back and fight the desolations and stuff, and in between they went to damnation.
Yeah.
Was that in any way associated with the spiritual realm, or was that some sort of like purgatory?
So we don't know. We don't know what the Trampoline Halls and Damnation are. We know that like myth fades into legend fades to myth.
Wrong button.
But the wrong series again. But the Braze, my theory on this, and we'll get to speculation on social later, is that Braze's Damnation and this other planet's Trampoline Halls.
Agreed.
I agree.
What other planet is Trampoline Halls?
So there's we'll get to that in Stormlight. Say that for the next panel. But Braze, we do know that Braze is the interior planet in the system, and Braze is super hot. Right. So by which I do not mean like it's Miami Beach. I mean it's like Mercury.
So it says, I think you said the words Brandon said that the heralds are a cognitive shadow. Like, so that means that they're not actually alive, or are they not? They're not like a physical human being.
The heralds are cognitive shadows.
Well, they're souls because they didn't. We saw that Talonel died in the prelude of the Way of Kings, and yet someone named Talonel appears at the end of the Way of Kings. And I mean, if you think about it, the whole mechanic of heralds is, the story is that they die.
So
They may have
so
died
in a sense, they're shaped by people's perceptions of what the herald stands for.
Could be.
They came to do something. Once that goal was accomplished, they
They're
left.
walking honor spread all
They came back.
So let's pause on this for a second. This is a great question for either the Stormlight panel or the speculation panel.
Or the magic panel.
Or the magic panel. We've got technically 0 seconds left. Do we have any questions? If you do have a question, please feel free to come up and chat with us. The next panel is introduction to Cosmere magic. This panel is now over because it's 11 o'clock. Please, I forgot to say this yesterday, please give feedback in the app. Please use the app to give feedback. It's helpful for us. Thank you for coming.
Just gave me months of reading, man. Jeez.